Another Mike Diesel production.
Rockin' those lines, showing thoughts of rhyme. Rockin' those lines, showing thoughts of rhyme. Rockin' those lines, showing thoughts of rhyme. I'ma come through and show my wit line. Rockin' those lines, showing thoughts of rhyme. Rockin' those lines, showing thoughts of rhyme. Rockin' those lines, showing thoughts of rhyme. I'ma come through and show my wit line. Rockin' those lines. I'ma come through and show my wit line. Rockin' those lines, showing thoughts of rhyme. Rockin' those lines, showing thoughts of rhyme. Rockin' those lines, showing thoughts of rhyme. I'ma come through and show my wit line. Rockin' those lines. I'ma come through and show my wit line. Rockin' those lines, showing thoughts of rhyme. Rockin' those lines, showing thoughts of rhyme. Rockin' those lines, showing thoughts of rhyme. I'ma come through and show my wit line. Rockin' those lines. I'ma come through and show my wit line. Rockin' those lines, showing thoughts of rhyme. Rockin' those lines, showing thoughts of rhyme. Rockin' those lines, showing thoughts of rhyme. I'ma come through and show my wit line. Rockin' those lines.
Yo, hey man, y'all be on Facebook running y'all damn mouth, and then when you get called out, say, hey, let's just go live and deal with it. You know what I'm saying? Let's just go live, put it on the record. Matter of fact, I'll debate you, and matter of fact, I'll put up $1,000. Soon as I say that, they think that they could just talk their way out of that. So they're like, yeah, sure, let's do it. So I put the link in and said, let's just do a quick prelim. Yeah, I'm down to go live. I love to go live. I put the link in. Now, oh no, I'm at work. oh, you at work, but you got enough time to go back and forth with me on Facebook and run your damn mouth. What was all that where's all that bravery? Where's all that courage that you have when you a keyboard warrior on Facebook? You make claims, you comment and go against us. How about you stand on your swear for once? I'm sick of you niggas, man. Don't hit me up on Facebook if you're not ready to have a live discussion about the shit you say and back up the things you say. Now, I'm going to share you with you guys who this brother is. You guys call him out, whatever, for his cowardice and show and prove how this dude is a coward. You know, you say something, you come on my post, and you want to go back and forth. Anybody know me? I'm not the back and forth dude on Facebook. I don't go back and forth with you. I might entertain you for a minute, then I'm just going to stop giving a fuck and leave you alone and let you argue with your fucking self. I'm like, listen, man, if it's a big deal, put $1,000 on it. If you're not willing to put $1,000 on what the fuck you saying, I know you bullshitting. That's a fact. You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna show you this post here on Facebook of this coward. And I don't want him to talk or say nothing. Don't reference me, don't tag me and shit until you get the balls to get on my channel and argue your claim and prove your claim. I'm gonna show you guys what this is. Then I'll make another live on what I really want to cover today. But I just want to show you guys these dudes are cowards, man. They don't want to stand up on academic prowess. These dudes are religious freaks, man. Dogmatic doctrinaires. So this is in a group called the Biblical Rumble Room, right? And I made a post. And my post simply says, African American doesn't automatically equate to an Israelite. And the reason why I did this is because there are many people that think that just because you're African American, just because you're African, that automatically means you're Israelite based off of a classification. One, that's a classification based off of our modern societal experience and social climate. It has nothing to do with whether or not you descend from Jacob. And then secondly, what else are you using to the term? Oh, the slave trade, right? Okay, everybody that's African American didn't descend from slaves or people that came off slave ships. You have some people that are African American that descended from slave owners. Okay, and that's evident in the Y DNA that we see amongst them, the G, the R. You know, some of them may have I, some of them may have various European clades. And we know why that's the case. Again, we don't condemn nobody for it, but remember, what was my statement? African American doesn't automatically equate to an Israelite. Now look what this fool gonna say and comment. Right here, he says, does being a descendant of slaves automatically equate to being an Israelite? So right there, his proposition is that being a descendant of a slave automatically equates to being an Israelite. Now, you know how I get down. I'm going to chop this up very quickly. This is not going to take too long for me to chop up this logical fallacy. It says, in conjunction with Deuteronomy 28:68, yes or no? If it does, then I'm confused by your post. If it doesn't, how sway? Inquiring minds want to know. So he's confused because my post is actually factual. You cannot say just because you're African American, you're Israelite. All African Americans are not the same genetically. All African Americans do not share the same patriline. They are not patrilineally the same. Therefore, they cannot all be descendants of Jacob. When we say Israelite, we're talking about descendants of Jacob. We're not talking about people that converted. We're not talking about people that cleave to the natural branches. We're strictly talking about, from a biological basis, if Jacob existed, his descendants. And how do you trace a male's line of descent? Through the Y chromosome. All African Americans are not the same patrilineally. They do not share the same Y chromosome. Therefore, they all cannot be Israelites by descent. That's what my statement is speaking towards. But this guy says he's confused because he thinks once you step on a slave ship, you are automatically transformed. Your biological units are automatically transformed to a descendant of Jacob. This is no different than the doctrine that was brought to us by Christianity and modern Christianity when they speak on if you believe in Christ, then you be an Abraham seed. When they read Galatians 3, you're no different than those that push and propagate the message of replacement, the replacement theology, where they believe that God replaced the natural Israelites with new Israelites, which are, i.e., Christians. You believe the same shit. But you're not saying, oh, if you believe in Abraham, you're saying if you believe you came off a slave ship, that makes you an Israelite. This is faulty logic. And, speaking towards the video I did earlier this week, when someone said, oh, are you cloud chasing? No, because there's no way I could be cloud chasing because I would be agreeing and kissing you niggas' asses when you say stupid shit like this. The go along to get along gang, as Kwame Brown says, that's a great saying because that's what you guys do. You go along to get along. I don't do that on this channel. I talk about the doctrines and the topics that pisses you niggas off. I talk about politics. A lot of y'all don't want to talk about politics. I talk about how we should sway more Republican. A lot of you niggas don't like Republicans. I talk about white jewelry, European jewelry. You niggas don't like white jewelry. I talk about how all black people are not Israelites. You niggas hate when I say that. I tell you that using your vague interpretation of the Bible is not suffice enough to identify people. Y'all hate that. So I speak on the topics y'all don't want me to speak on. There's nothing clout chasing on this channel. I never did anything to clout chase any shit. You understand? I just keep it real on all topics. And if you want a genuine educational experience, you come to my channel. If you want bullshit, you go subscribe to people like Tail. IUIC. You go subscribe to them. Because they will teach you stuff like this. This is where this is coming from. So again, he says, does being a descendant of slaves automatically equate to being an Israelite in conjunction with Deuteronomy 28:68? Yes or no? If it does, then I'm confused by your post. If it doesn't, then how, Sway? Inquiring minds want to know. And I knew this was all bullshit when I read this, but I said, let me entertain it, right? And he's trying to get some help here. He says, whoever this Jimmy guy to come help him. And this is Harris Sahija. I don't know how to say your last name. Sorry if I butchered it. But I respond. I say, hell no. A shared experience doesn't mean common ancestry. Just because several people go through the same thing, you know what I'm saying? Exactly, James, the go along to get along game. But just because several individuals may have a common experience, may have an event that they both share in common, like slavery or coming off a slave ship, does not automatically equate to them having a common ancestry. Native Americans went through slavery. They went through slave trades. This is well documented. They were selling Native Indian slaves. They were selling them across the Atlantic to various places in Africa and in Europe. Okay, and they were selling them in various places in the Americas, right? As they were depopulating, they were replacing those slave populations so they can get them to die for pearls and other matters from surrounding Caribbean islands. Does that mean that we share a common ancestry? No, we share a common experience. We work side by side with them. Okay, we were the first commodity on Wall Street. Native Americans and African Americans were sold together on Wall Street. That's a common experience, but that doesn't mean we share a common patriline. That doesn't mean we share common arch forefathers. That doesn't mean we all descend from Jacob just because we all share a common experience being known and sold as slaves. This is what happens with the ADOS community, American Descendants of Slaves. You do understand that encompasses other groups outside of African Americans. So I think it should be called the African American Descendant of Slaves, just to try to narrow that number and kind of clear up some of the ambiguity that's within that. But that's the problem I have with statements like this. Just because someone's a descendant of slaves does not equate to them being Israelites. So I tell them again, hell no. A shared experience doesn't mean common ancestry. Europeans were sold as slaves on slave ships. This has been documented. Europeans have been sold as slaves on slave ships. Native Americans were sold as slaves on slave ships. The Phillips War, you had Native Americans being sold on slave ships, and prior to that, as I stated earlier, during the occupation of San Juan and what we call Haiti today, and San Domingo, whatever, the DR, as they were depopulating those areas, through disease and war, they will get other slaves from surrounding islands like Trinidad to replenish that stock. They would sell them on ships. This is empirical. Ashkenazi Jews were sold as slaves on slave ships. I'm going to say that again. Ashkenazi Jews were sold as slaves on slave ships. I know that's probably making a lot of y'all get shooken up in the boots on that, but this is proven. Jews in general were sold as slaves on slave ships. If you look up the Inquisition of Malta, they were selling Jews on slave ships, so much so that the Jewish nations in Poland and surrounding nations would go around and try to redeem them. They would try to redeem their brothers that were captured and sold as slaves. Okay. So you guys will emphatically say, no, these people are not Jews. You know what I'm saying? But through your own criteria, they're a descendant of slaves, and you said in conjunction with Deuteronomy 28:68. So you're saying that they had to be slaves sold on slave ships. This applies to Ashkenazi Jewry as well. The Portuguese were sold as slaves on slave ships. Portuguese Jews, Portuguese conversos, Portuguese Muslims, they were sold as slaves on slave ships. This is evident. We know the history on this. We know the history of Sao Tome. We know the history of Principe. We know the history of slaves being sold there from Portugal. And we understand that the first slaves to come to anywhere in the Americas were what you would call mulattoes, half caste. That's what they were. And I guess just because they got off slave ships, they are automatically Israelites based on your criteria. And this is the problem I have with this. And watch how he responds to this. And he puts a sad emoji here. Right? Watch this. He says, what's the determining factor then? Because it's quite obvious that those aforementioned individuals aren't Israelites. Well, how are you making the delineation? How are you saying they're not Israelites? Remember, the only criteria that you have is if they were descendants of a slave in conjunction with Deuteronomy 28:68. So you're saying slave ships. You're putting slave ships in. That's why you're mentioning Deuteronomy 28:68. You said obviously, ostensibly is what you're saying. These people are not Israelites. What are you using to determine that? They fit the criteria that you pose. He said your post is losing steam with the attempted analogy correlation. Furthermore, your revisionist historical accounts are null and void. Sounds like you're questioning your own Israelite ancestry by its flawed explanation. So all this is a bunch of babble, right? You can't make this claim here, the above claim, where you say it's quite obvious that those aforementioned individuals aren't Israelites. There's no way in hell you can make that claim when you've already gave us a vague criterion, which is all you have to do is be a descendant of a slave and fit Deuteronomy 28:68. That was your criteria. And you're saying, no, they can't be slaves, but they fit the criteria. This is how hypocritical and backwards you guys are on the internet. And this is why I don't go back and forth with y'all. You've already killed yourself with your own statement. Because as soon as you say no, that doesn't apply. It's not applicable. You're acknowledging what your criteria is lacking and is not enough to determine if you're an Israelite. All right, be that as it may, I did respond. I stated the determining factor is some vague or faulty scriptural breakdown. And this is my opinion because, as I pointed out before, you just saying a descendant of a slave in conjunction with Deuteronomy 28:68 does not suffice to tell you who was an Israelite. And you yourself said, oh, well, they're not Israelites, so therefore you don't even believe what you're saying. It says if you don't agree that those groups are not Israelites, you have to apply it across the board. This is called the Aristotle indictum. You know, if you're going to say that, you have to apply it across the board. You have to even apply it with African Americans and Africans. Right here, I said, just because an event happens doesn't mean you are connected to everyone who shared the same experience. Use your noggin. African American is a classification, not a divine marker for Israelites. And I want everyone that's listening, that's hearing me, you have to understand that. African American is a classification here in America. It is not a divine marker given to you by Gabriel, given to you by angels, or given to you directly by God. So why are you treating it as such? You really have to sit back and analyze what it is that you're actually teaching. African Americans are a hodgepodge of people grouped together by societal standards. And I mean, that's just plain. He says African Americans have different paternal and maternal lineages, meaning they cannot all descend from Jacob. Again, as I'm going to reiterate, you're going to hear me reiterate throughout this video, there's no way we all can be descendants of Jacob if we all don't descend paternally, from the same Y chromosome. So just because someone's an African American, just because someone's a descendant of a slave, does not mean they come from Jacob. What's going on, D-Red? What's happening? I guess he got a little delay, so I'll let him. He'll come in when he's ready. So then he responds to that. I'm using my noggin. Please use yours. So you tell me what's your determining factor, because I go by scripture and you sound confused. You're using a bunch of terminology that have no contextual relevance on what is determining factor for an Israelite. Everyone knows natives, Ashkenazis, Europeans, Portuguese aren't Israelites, even though you said they were sold as slaves on slave ships. There's no historical verifiable document that will validate or substantiate your revisionist foolery. So again, tell the people what is the determining factor if it isn't scripture. So again, he's saying what I'm saying is revisionist history. But think about and analyze what he's saying. Everyone that came off a slave ship as an Israelite, that's revisionist history. Because you're not even considering pedigree. You're not even considering genealogy. You're not considering anything but your understanding and your interpretation or interpolation of the scripture. That's revisionist history. Anybody right now with a computer can look up the Phillips War and see that Native Americans were indeed sold on slave ships. Anybody can look up Bartolomé de las Casas' work, okay, The Destructions of the Indies. And he explains in that book that Native American Indians were sold as slaves. Anybody can look up the Inquisition of Malta and see that 80% of the captives and slaves sold were Jewish or Islamic. This nigga just does not read anything outside of his small biblical paradigm, and that's an issue. And that's why, in the words of Jay Electronica, he said, my grandmother don't want to leave the fucking hood. I got to raise the slum up. And I feel like that's what I got to do here on the YouTube community and social media community. I got to raise the intelligence up of you damn idiots, man. I literally have to go through, so much trouble just raising the intelligence level because you're so damn dogmatic and idiotic. This is idiocy here that we're reading. This is called special pleading, ignoring things that contradict your belief. All right, D-Red, you there? You want to say something? You want to chime in?
Yeah, I mean, that's just what's going on social media, man. And, like, these cats, they have they'll accuse us of uh being dogmatic or what have you, but we've come up with a working model that you would have to refute with another working model. And these cats are not able to do that. You see what I'm saying? They can just try to poke holes in our model. You know what I'm saying? But when upon the close scrutiny, the holes that they try to poke don't really poke no holes. I mean, it's like you trying to poke something, but they don't make a hole. You know what I'm saying? It's one of them type of situations. They poking it, but they don't make no hole. So it's like it's just like I said, it's just you know that's kind of where I fell back because I started realizing, man, the scholastics of a lot of these cats is waning. You know what I mean? It's a waste of time. You know what I mean? It's really a waste of time. You got people. I was on Clubhouse the other day. I was dude said he's supposed to be a doctor, and he was still trying to say that climate change is the reason why. I mean, the cold climate is the reason why white skin developed. You know what I'm saying? These people still be holding on to antiquated
Right,
standards. You see
right.
what I'm saying? And this dude's supposed to be a PhD. He's supposed to be a geneticist. But and I'm like, no, that's not how white skin developed. I'm trying to explain to him about the Bell Beaker people and the Thunder Beaker people and the Yamnaya people and how those people come together and create, you know what I'm saying, those people with those three different genes, the LC2458, the HERCA2, the LC24A, they all come together and they create, white skin is created, you know what I'm saying, through the combination of those three people coming together. He's trying to say, no, it was environmental pressures and it was this. I'm like, I'm like, what? I said, man, okay, well, give me an article, an up-to-date article that show that he leaves. Because there's no up-to-date article that says that.
Exactly. And if it's environmental pressure, tell him to explain how Cro-Magnus was in Europe for 40,000 years of black
Yeah,
man.
I trust me. I was going there, but like I said, once I asked for the give me an up-to-date article that says that, you know what I'm saying? I said so I can look at it. He leaves.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So it's like a lot of these people, you know what I mean, really just don't like what it says. Like the haplogroup E is not indigenous to West Africa. That's what it. If you when you really look at the average person that actually has contention with our argument, the issue is haplogroup E because most of us are haplogroup E. The fact that haplogroup E is not originally from that area.
Mm-hmm.
That is the biggest issue. You know what I'm saying? And that's just what it is. You know what I'm saying? But you know what I'm saying? They don't like that because it goes against that narrative that we've been there. Well, okay, well now it gives credibility. Us not being haplogroup B not being for indigenous to West Africa lends credibility to all those migration stories that you hear from the Igbo, the Yoruba, you know what I'm
Exactly.
saying, and these different groups. It actually lends credibility to and it shows how reliable their oral tradition actually is.
Mm-hmm.
Because
The DNA matches up with it. Yep.
the DNA matches up with it. So it's like I said, these are the issues that a lot of people are having with our model. Is that you know what I'm saying? That they try to make us haplogroup A and B, and we're not. You see what I'm saying? And haplogroup E that most of us are is either based upon whichever paradigm you subscribe to, either a Horn of Africa subclade or Levantine subclade. Period.
True. True. That is gonna make people mad. The facts make people mad, D-Red. You can't tell the truth. They ain't ready for the truth. Oh man, yeah, everything you said, indeed, man. These guys are dilettantes. They don't want to accept any information that goes against their paradigm. You know what I'm saying? Like this guy right here, he believed in a camp paradigm. You know, I came from that. That's my background. I know everything about that, right? So he don't want to move or waver from that. He says, I can't use anything but scripture. But here's the thing: when you use nothing but scripture, what do you have to rely on to cross-reference it? Your fucking mind. You're using your mind to cross-reference the scripture. So in your mind, nobody can fit Deuteronomy 28, but all African Americans. That's fucking flawed. That's wrong. This is why cats will tell you to stick to the Bible, because they don't want to go outside the Bible and be proven wrong. You know, I gave him several incidents of people being sold as slaves on slave ships outside of, African Americans. And he said, no, they're not Israelites. But wait a minute, you just told me the criteria for an Israelite is a descendant of slaves off a slave ship. That's it. So what makes these people not Israelites then? I'm going to read the rest of this, D-Red. Watch this. I'm going to read the rest of this. He says, the determining factor, if it is in scripture, right? Because I don't base everything off scripture. He says, the level of reasoning makes absolutely no sense, dude. My level of reasoning don't. Even though I gave actual historical case studies for people that can go and cross-reference, right? I responded, said, everybody knows they are not Israelite. This is a basic claim, same as your basic claim on all African Americans being Israelites. The Jews were sold as slaves on slave ships during the Inquisition in Malta. You obviously need to read more books outside of your dogma. Native Americans have been documented to be sold as slaves on slave ships during the King Philip's War and before, when they took natives from neighboring islands in the Caribbean to replenish the slave population. Read a damn book. So then he responds, I'll read a book if you spell properly and use the necessary punctuation. When people start doing that, become grammar police when you beating them up with historical documentation and historical references, that means that they don't have a comeback. You know what I'm saying? This is a red herring, a logical fallacy, because he has no comeback to what I said. You gave me the criteria. I gave you other groups that fit the criteria. You told me they're not Israelites. And I'm saying, based off what? You gave me your criteria. You're contradicting your own criterion. He says, furthermore, you're projecting your ignorant attributes onto me. I'll ask again, what is the determining factor for a person being an Israelite? Your outside sources, you use, I guess he's trying to say, remember he said, I'm the one with the grammar problem, right? But he says, you outside sources. I guess he's saying you use outside sources in books to validate scripture. You sound like a fool. For 2 Peter 1:20, he quotes this scripture. He says, knowing this first, and no prophecy of the scriptures of any private interpretation. You're making a claim about the Bible while not using the Bible. You're silly, dude. And this is the type of religious nonsense that you hear on social media all the time. Oh, you're not using you're not using the scripture, you're not using my understanding and my vague ass explanation of things, so therefore you're wrong. Bro, how do you verify any of this shit if you don't go outside of it? You got to cross-examine it. You got to give evidence. You present your hypothesis, and then what's the next step? You got to present evidence that will either confirm or deny your hypothesis. Then you write your conclusion. Right here, I respond to what he just said. Refusing to read actual historical sources is willful ignorance. So this guy is pretty much telling me that, oh, I'm not going to read none of that. That's outside bullshit. I'm not going to study history. But when we study history, archaeology, anthropology, that's how we verify that these people were real. That we understand that these biblical stories have validity to it by studying history. We can say, oh, the historicity backs up the claim that there was a depopulation event in ancient Israel, by the Assyrians. But we have the Black Obelisk to show that. You understand? We know that the Kingdom of David existed because we have stelae with his name on it. We know that Israel exists because of Moneta Stele, the British foot stele. We have to use outside sources to verify that. You understand? If you use the Bible to prove the Bible, that's called circular reasoning. You need something else to validate it. And this is why I said this. Refusing to read actual historical sources is willful ignorance. You're being willfully ignorant. And many of you guys claim to be Israelites. You teach this. You teach and propagate that our people be willfully ignorant. You don't want to raise the scholarship of the community. And I said, as the Apostle Paul states, if any man be ignorant, let him be. And that's where I'm at with it. If y'all don't want to hear it, I don't care. Be ignorant. My position is not made to be favorable. I didn't wake up in the morning like, I'm gonna make a position, to appease everybody. No, I'm gonna make the right position, the most accurate position that I can make, regardless and irrespective of your feelings. Then he responds, dude, again, I've read historical sources, which he ain't gonna tell me what historical source, right? So again, does historical sources usurp what's written in scripture? You're bad at this. Then you got the nerve to quote Paul, 2 Peter 3:15-16. And he says, Cállate. He attempts to say cállate, right? Which means be quiet in Spanish. So then I respond. He says, we can, you know how I am. I'm not going to go back and forth with you too damn long. I'm not doing this game with you. I'm going to go straight to the nitty gritty on this. I said, we can solve this with a live debate on the matter. 3 rounds, 15 minutes each. Let's put up $1,000 on this topic. Winner takes all. I'm like, cut the bullshit. Let's just get straight to the point. Let's have a $1,000 debate. He loved the post. So, all right. So he says, do you have $1,000 to lose? I say, ask yourself that question. I made the offer. And then I say, also, we can go live now. Look what I said. Look at the verbiage I'm using. Look at the words I'm using now. And do a prelim. I'll send you the link. Then he says, do you know what a simple deduction is? Your entire stance is nonsensical and asinine. What makes you think a live debate will further validate your stance? You're not dealing with anecdotal evidence. You're dealing with conjecture. I would love to go live. He says, I'm not dealing with anecdotal evidence. First of all, anecdotal evidence will be something that I can only experience, right? I didn't never use anecdotal evidence. He said, I'm dealing with conjecture. I never used conjecture either. I gave actual historical references that anyone can go look up and cross-examine. He said, I would love to go live. I would love to go live. Remember when I said we can go live now? He said, I would love to go live. He said, then I respond, let's do it. I'm setting up the live now. So he can't say he didn't know I was trying to do the live today. He can't say that he didn't know I was trying to set up a live now. He can't say that because I verbatim, as y'all can see on the screen, I said I am setting up the live now. Now watch how he responds. I'm telling you niggas on the internet are keyboard warriors and you cowards. You won't stand on anything you say. Watch what he says. You're willing to wager on your version of the truth. That lets me know that you have no knowledge of or understanding. Now he's starting to go away from the debate. He's starting to move away from the fact that we're setting up a live so we can have a discussion about the debate. He's trying to move away from that and say, oh man, you're willing to put money on it? That means you're false. Wait a minute. Why are you making all this shit up now when I say, hey, let's get ready to go live? Why are you trying to find a way out of this when I say let's go live? At first you said you would love to go live. Now all of a sudden you're trying to revert. Oh, well, the fact that you're putting money on this lets me know you don't have no understanding. What the fuck? And then he quotes this scripture, Proverbs 23:23. Buy the truth and sell it not. Also wisdom, instruction, and understanding. What the fuck does that have to do with making a wager or a bet on a debate? Then he responded again. You had an entire conversation without using one scripture. Bro, you fishing for an excuse not to go live, bro. Then, here you go. Here goes the ultimate excuse. Dude, I'm at work. I would love to go live and discuss this. Nah, bro, you don't want to go live. And I doubt that you at work. Because guess what you doing while you at work? Working them damn thumbs on your phone. So obviously, if you got time to go back and forth with me in the comment section, you should have time to jump your ass on the StreamYard and stand on your swear. Obviously, you should be able to jump your ass on the StreamYard and say, listen, I believe X, Y, and Z because of X, Y, and Z. All right? You should easily be able to do that. Just like you can easily jump on my Facebook post and try to, become you know how they got in court, they got the papal terrorists when they submit all them papers and shit. The more people be doing that, they'll submit all them papers. You got on Facebook, you got the comment terrorists. They want to have a 40 to 50 comment battle with you on Facebook. I don't do that shit. That's cut straight to the nitty gritty. That's bet money. Let's do a live debate on the platform with judges. And the minute you start bringing that up, the minute you say that's bet money, let's go live, these niggas become chickens, man. Hey, D-Red, they don't know I like my chicken extra crispy, though. You know what I'm saying?
Bark, bark. Bark, bark.
These niggas become extra, you know what I'm saying? These niggas become chicken, man. Keyboard, exactly, J. Key. Keyboard cowards. Keyboard cowards, bro. That's what you are, man. If you watching this live, bro, you a coward, man. Don't ever come on my post again addressing anything I gotta say, because I'm saying, remember you was supposed to go live, and remember we was supposed to do that debate for $1,000, and you niggas did not want to come on. You did not want to show face. All right. So again, man, I'm gonna do this for the people that's viewing, and then I'm gonna make another live on a topic I actually want to talk about today. But I really wanted to just expose this dude because this happens so much on what we call Facebook, right? People will come out there and say that you're wrong, you're wrong. Okay, I'm wrong. Show the world I'm wrong. Prove to the world I'm wrong. We got a platform, we got viewership, we got an audience. I think everybody would love to see Yahshua get proven wrong. You know, I got a lot of enemies. So if that's the case, then show your ass up on the live and prove it. Why is that so hard? You sound confident as hell. You look confident as hell on Facebook. You said what I'm saying is nonsensical, so I want to see you prove that it's nonsensical. All right, so I'm gonna do something for y'all, man. I'm gonna just give y'all a quick historical reference. I'm gonna see how I'm gonna do this, right? But before I do that, you know what I'm saying, I gotta ask my audience, don't be this guy, man. Don't be this guy. I'm gonna need y'all to do something very simple for me. You know what I'm saying? Because I think this is where his fault is. He does not use his noggin.
Hi everybody, time to use your noggin. How do you use your noggin, you say? Well, here's how you use it every day. Use your noggin when you write a letter. Use your noggin when you make it better. Use your noggin when you play guitar. Use your noggin to spot a star. Use your noggin when you make a scene. Use your noggin when you mix up green. Use your noggin to play a game. When you use your noggin, it's never the same. Use your noggin to sing a song. Ask another noggin to sing along. Use your noggin with your computer. Hey, that's Z. What could be cuter? Use your noggin. That's what it's for.
I'm using my noggin.
Are you using yours?
All right, I'm going to show you guys this source, and I was hoping that he would come on, so we can read it together. You know, so I like to read it together with the people that oppose the doctrine or whatever's being stated. I like them to see it on the screen. We all see it on the screen. We can read it together. That way there's no confusion. So, give me a minute, y'all. I'm gonna pull this source up, and we're gonna get right to it.
Let me work. Please let me work. Get that water. He about to get this work. He about to get this work. Hold up. Hold up. He gonna get this work. He gonna get this work, nigga. Hold up. He gonna get this work. He gonna get this work, nigga. I killed you. Hold up. He gonna get this work. Hold up. Hold up. You niggas gonna get this work, you hear me? Mean. He ain't even get the second verse, but he gonna get this work. Hold up, man. He gonna get this work. He gonna get this work. He gonna get this work. Hold up, man. Let me work. He gonna get this work, nigga. Watch me work. He gonna get this work. He gonna get this work. Yeah, he gonna get this work. Hold up. He gonna get this work.
Yo, Sean, what's happening, man? Sean, sorry. Hey, oh man, we losing y'all.
I'm driving. Hold. I'm gonna be coming back in again. My something's going on with my mic. I'll let you know when I'm back in.
All right,
Shalom, shalom.
Shalom, sorry. What you think about this guy, man? I don't know how much you heard, but he basically says anybody that's a descendant of a slave and came off slave ship is an Israelite. What do you think about that?
I think that is obviously wrong, and he ain't doing enough research on that. Look like he one of them people that believe in prophecy only, just based on his comments. He's not taking into account the nuances of those prophecies as it pertains to a lot of the evidence that comes out pertaining to the slave trade and the genetics of the slave trade and all that stuff. So he obviously hasn't seen that type of information, or if he's seen it, he's ignoring it.
Yeah, that's a fact. That's a fact.
More than likely, he ain't seen it. 'Cause, like I was dealing with a so-called doctor last night, and the dude didn't know. He was still trying to say that, like I just told you, he was still trying to say, well, the environment and then cold weather. Yes, cold weather is what caused us to lose pigmentation, and I'm like, dude, shut up. You know what I'm saying? I feel like Martin. Cole, you stupid. And so, nah, man, these people they're not reading this stuff for real. They're just really just they have an idea in their head and they just spew it. That's all. They're not reading this stuff.
Exactly. It's non-academic approach. I like to call it the Negroid approach. I like to dub it that, bro.
Cause, bro, when I'm talking about, I start showing, because what I did was the host of the room. I started sending them all my articles and links to what I'm talking about, to where I get my shit from, book links, freaking article links. You know what I'm saying? And then I'm sending them to this doctor dude that's supposed to be a doctor. And guess what happened? He left.
Yeah, you find that funny that as soon as it come to proving the point or bringing out documentation to prove the point, these niggas get ghost. You know what I'm saying? These niggas turn to go. They turn to Casper, man, the friendly ghost. As soon as you start talking about proving and provide evidence to cement your point, these niggas, you know what I'm saying, they go missing. But as y'all, Casper the friendly ghost, my nigga.
Man, them dudes, I'm telling you, man, them dudes, it's sad, but you know, we gotta do better as far as, you know what I mean? And that's why I told dude, I said, man, you can come to the channel, we can have a discussion where we can actually pull up sources. I said, you can just go to the channel. You know what I'm saying? We talk about this, that's what we do. We talk about genetics. That's what we do. We talk about genetics, history, all this. I mean, the stuff that we talked about on here, we talk about it already, and you can probably go over there since you're a doctor. You can just at least look over the stuff. At first, I thought, he was a real doctor. You know what I'm saying? Till I started realizing anything I don't know what he's talking about. And so he was like, I was like, you go to the show, just, you know what I'm saying? At least look at the stuff that we present. You know what I'm saying? And see what you think, and then you get back with me. You can see the models that we work out. You know what I'm saying? Well, now yours. He was like, with all due respect, brother, I don't need to go over there. I'm a PhD. This is what I do. I'm like, okay, well, I feel you. You know what I'm saying? Then he got to talk about the environment and shit. And I was like, nigga, you ain't no goddamn doctor. I said, that's not what modern science don't even say that.
If he is, he's just somebody that went to school and got indoctrinated or didn't choose to update his science.
And then he told me I'm not qualified to talk to him. I said, brother, do you not understand that some of the greatest minds in the black community, you know what I'm saying, were autodidacts? So that don't have nothing to you. Your PhD, I said, your PhD don't have nothing against Arturo Schomburg or Dr. John Henry Clark or Dr. Ben. All these people are autodidacts. Chancellor Williams, all these people were autodidacts that was in the black community. There was only one person that actually had the academic credentials, and that was Sheikh Anta Diop.
Well,
Everybody else was autodidact.
And I said this 1,000 times on the show. You get a degree to get a job, not to go on the internet and tell people you can't be challenged or I'm smart, because no, that's not what a degree is. Is a prerequisite to get a job, to show an employer that you have the basic tools and understanding in that field to do a job. That's what that means. It's just so fucking stupid to sit up here and think, I have a degree, I cannot be questioned. That is not how that works. You know what I'm saying? If you have a degree, you need to be questioned, because now we need to go to you and see what you have obtained while you went to that 4-year institution. Undergrad or graduate, whatever. Okay. So that's just slow. But anyway, I have the wiki article here. Then I'm going to go to my book, Jews in Medieval Times, to even further the point. But this is slavery in Malta, right? You guys should be able to see it on the screen, the wiki article. Slavery in Malta existed and was recognized from classical antiquity until early modern period, as was the case in many countries around the Mediterranean Sea. The system reached its apex under the Hospitaller rule, when it took on unprecedented proportions, largely to provide galley slaves for the galleys of the order. Now, what is a galley slave? A galley slave is a slave rowing in a galley, either a convicted criminal sentenced to work at the oar or a kind of human chattel. Human chattel. That's chattel slavery. Often a prisoner of war assigned to the duty of rowing for the galleys of the order, as well as the Christian countries. Commerce raids, which were the backbone of the Knights' economic military system, helped to maintain this system, partly through creating a demand for slaves to maintain a military fleet, but also due to the influx of Muslim prisoners when battles were won. Thus, Malta became the hub of slavery in Christian Europe. Right? Slavery was abolished in Malta by Napoleon Bonaparte during his invasion of the Maltese archipelago on 16 June 1798. So it wasn't abolished to 1798, and they had a slave system where they would capture slaves and force them to be galley slaves. Now let's look at these slaves, right? Let's look at these slaves. Let's go straight to the actual slave population. Revolt, abolition. Where is it at? Different functions. Permanent rollout. Right here. Slave origin. All right. Approximately 80% of slaves. Do y'all see this on the screen? Y'all see this? This is why we call it the source. Approximately 80% of the slaves were Muslim or Jewish. Muslim or Jewish. Remember what his criteria was to be an Israelite? He said a descendant of a slave that had to come off a slave ship. These people are descendants of slaves. It came off a slave ship. It says here approximately 80% of slaves were Muslim or Jewish. They were often captured during military conflicts by the order and later during pirate raids. Muslim slaves were largely Turks, Moors, or Barbary pirates, as well as limited numbers of sub-Saharan Africans. Jews came from the Levant, the Aegean Islands, Rhodes, Crete, or Venice, which is in Spain. So the Jews were being sold as slaves. And about 20% were Christians who came from Greece and the Middle East or Central Europe and may have already been slaves at the time of their capture. And this is what I was telling him earlier. Europeans were already being sold as slaves. Prior to the transatlantic slave trade, unbeknownst to most of us, Europeans were being sold as slaves. They were selling each other as slaves. So according to your criteria, these will all be Israelites. We don't have to do anything else. We don't have to look at genetics, anthropology. We don't look at the historicity, the genealogy, the pedigree accounts. We don't have to look at none of that. All we have to do is say, okay, slave ships were involved and they were a chattel. That's all we need to look at in the descendants of slaves. They're all Israelites according to you. You can't refute that because I didn't set the criteria. He did. All right. So that's the Malta history. Let me give you some more. You know how we do on the channel, man. Y'all know how we rocking, man. We do not do what these dilettantes do. We actually open up the books and we actually read here, right? All right, so we're going to go to the book, The Jews in the Medieval World, a source book from 315 to 1791. What does that say right there? The ransom of captives, Eastern and Southern Europe. That's what that says. Give you a timestamp, 1649 to 1708. It says one of the most meritorious acts recommended to observant Jew is the ransoming of captives from what? Slavery. Now, before I finish reading this, I was told that I am giving a revisionist history, that I am making shit up, that I just pulled this out my ass, that I'm just lying. You know, Jews wasn't sold as slaves. But what did this just say right here? This is why I wanted him on the channel so we can read it together. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? A family that reads together, I don't know, stay together. Says one of the most meritorious acts recommended to observant Jew is the ransoming of captives from slavery. As early as the first centuries of the Common Era, a whole body of law and precedent had grown up determining what constituted a captive, what captives took precedence in the order of their ransoming and release, and what were to be the limits of a ransom in order to discourse professional kidnappers. Originally, probably the captives' ransom were only those taken prisoners of war or on pirate raids. The term captive, however, was soon extended to include the unfortunate imprisoned on false accusations such as ritual murder and the like, and to include victims of arbitrary despotic lords and rulers who would often seize a prominent Jew in order to extort a ransom. All right, so I'm going to skip this part right here, but as you can see, they were clearly taken as slaves. Watch this.
Hey,
What's going on?
can I ask a question?
Go right ahead.
Who is he?
Oh, you had to be in the beginning. You had to be here in the beginning. This brother on Facebook, man, he basically was saying, you remember that post? Did you see my post on the Biblical Rumble Room where I said being an African American does not equate to being an Israelite?
Yes, yes, I did.
So he responded and said pretty much that I'm lying, you know, because African Americans will be descendants of slaves. Therefore,
Oh,
they
okay.
automatically.
All right.
Yeah. And I gave him a list of
Carry on.
groups yeah, but I want you to know I gave him a list of groups that fit that criteria. Native Americans
Right.
were sold on slave ships and they descendants of slaves. I said you had Jews that were sold on slave ships, and they descendants of slaves, you know, and he told me none of those. And I said the Portuguese were sold on slave ships and descendants of slaves. He said they ain't Israelites. But wait a minute.
The Slavs were descendants of slaves.
Yeah, the Slavs, they Israelites. They Israelites then. That's where we get the word slave from. Slav. Yeah, they Israelites, bro. He said, no, they obviously not Israelites, but you just told me anybody that come off a slave ship and the descendant of slaves is an Israelite. You know what I'm saying? So I offered him to come on the live and discuss this, and he said, I would love to go live. Then all of a sudden I'm at work. You know what I'm saying? Oh, you dumb for trying to put up money. You ain't of God because you want to bet me money. I'm like, all this bullshit. But when we was on Facebook, you had all the words and courage in the world.
Yeah.
But you don't want to come live and voice your opinion live. You're a coward.
When did Courage the Cowardly Dog get a Facebook?
Apparently yesterday.
Hey, shalom, D-Red. Shalom, Shari.
Shalom, bro.
Shalom, big bro.
All right, so let me read this. Let me go back. It says the first selection below, translated from the Hebrew, is a decree of the Lithuanian National Jewish Council of the year 1649. Now, we have covered on prior episodes that we actually do find E1B1A amongst the Lithuanian Jews. We actually know one on Clubhouse. His name is Steve. He's E1B1A. He's from Lithuania. And also Family Tree DNA, they report finding E1B1A amongst Lithuanian Jews. But that's beside the point. But anyway, Lithuanian National Jewish Council of the year 1649, authorizing every community to ransom immediately any Jewish captive taken by the Cossacks and the Tartars in fearful riots and pogroms of 1648 and 1649 in Poland and the Ukraine. So when you look at the Cossacks was actually enslaving Jews. They were enslaving them, taking them as captives. And we know this take place because we have these decrees like this to ransom them. I've covered this in my videos before. This was actually going to be a talking point against Rob Bourne. We were going to debate on, are the Hebrews victims of the slave trade? And I was going to bring points like this up against them. It says many of the Tartar allies of the Cossacks brought their prisoners to the market in Constantinople. And in response to a request from the Jewish leaders of that city and the chiefs of Lithuanian Jewry in association with Polish Jewry, forwarded funds to Turkey for their ransom. This action described in the minutes of the Lithuanian Council for the year 1652 constitutes the second selection translated below. So again, you have these Jews being taken as slaves by the Cossacks, right? And being brought to Constantinople, right? To a slave market to be what? Sold as slaves. Says the third selection is a translation of Judeo-Italian letter sent in 1708 by Rabbi Judah Rayleigh of Mantua to the Venetian Jewish Committee for the ransom of captives, asked for monetary aid for a Jew taken prisoner on the Italian front during the War of the Spanish Succession. All right. So let me read on this, then I'll move on. The following actions is taken as much as we have seen how so many Jews, unfortunately, have been taken captive, dispersed among the nations. How were they dispersed among the nations? Ships. So these group of individuals would automatically be Israelites according to him. We don't need nothing else. They were sold on slave ships, and they're descendants of slaves. In other words, their children would be descendants of slaves, right? So they automatically Israelites, Sean. I don't want nobody questioning these Jews. You know what I'm saying? I don't want nobody questioning them because you told me the criteria and they fit it. Fair? Is that fair?
Oh man.
It says, and as a result, have been practically lost among them. Now it has already been made clear in the minutes of the Metanah, the Lithuanian National Jewish Council, that in the matter of the redemption of captives, the involved expenses rest upon the whole Metanah. However, it is to be feared that before this has been sufficiently made known in the customary manner to the leaders of the communities, the opportunity may pass. So they're like, listen, we're trying to get money together to try to buy them out of slavery. But, you know, it's happening so frequently that we're not going to be able to save everybody. You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna get over here, skip to this part right here about the Lithuanian Council raises money to ransom Jewish captives held in the Turkish lands. It says here, whereas many of the Jews, those people of God, have had to leave their country, have gone into captivity, and have been brought to other lands where many of them have already been ransomed at a great expense. So again, we can see that this was an issue, right? That these Jews were being enslaved, and so much so that you had the councils trying to buy their freedom, right? We had a similar system here in America. You could actually purchase your freedom and buy your freedom and buy other African descent freedom, right? And even Jews were manumitting African slaves. So again, these people fit the criteria. So how are you making the distinction? Anybody want to make any commentary on what was shared, or any commentary on what this guy was actually claiming before we get out of here?
It wasn't 400 years, so no, they don't fit it. And are they Negroes? Because
Yeah, that's the thing. They gotta be Negro. They gotta be black, brother. Bro, what the scripture that said, "Thou shalt be blackest"? Thou shalt be Negroid.
They said they gonna say Sons of Solomon. Read.
And that was right, you know what I'm saying? That was just, a wiki article in that book right there. I could keep going.
And hey, Jashu, we need to do more of that too. Because we need to start figuring out ways to because I know we be getting off in the books and all that other stuff, but we got to start figuring out a way that we can start showing people how to do this research via the internet and show the people how to what's a good article, what's not a good article, what's a good what's a good website, what's not a good website, how to tell the difference. Because I think a lot of the times uh just talking to regular people that I'll be sending the videos to when we be going live and shit. A lot of times they were like, "Well, I mean, how much that book cost?" I'm like, "Shit, that bitch might be $150." Some people may not have,
Right.
you know what I'm saying, that type of money to spend. So we got to start. I think we got to start figuring out a way to show people how to do this research, how the regular person can do this research and actually get good information. You know what I'm saying, that they can use in a discussion or a debate or what have you. You know what I'm saying? Even just to teach. You see what I'm saying? But do it in a cost effective way. That, you know what I'm saying, the way they ain't gonna be, because they may not have the money that me and you, James, and some of the other brothers and sisters may have, you know what I'm saying, as disposable income. I think that's something we need to sit down and kind of talk about, how we can help the brothers and sisters get that information on the low low.
Well, that's why I created Genesis 49's resource page. So they can go to Genesis 49's resource page and say, "Hey, can I get that source right there? Can I get this?" And I will do my best to get them what they want, or what they're asking for, or point them in the right direction, like you're saying. But they need to go to the Genesis 49's resource page and be active and ask questions. Where can I get that from, or can I at least get that snippet? And I can send them the snippet. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of these sources, you don't need the entire book. You just need that chapter or that reference. But like you said, there are alternatives. You can go online. I've actually did a show where I was like, "Listen, I'm not going to use books today. I'm just going to deal with online articles." Because anybody can access those. So yeah, there are alternatives.
Also, people got to stop being so dogmatic and just parroting what other people are saying. To make a bold statement like that without doing no research. This brother making such a bold statement without doing no research. It's obvious that he's just listening to people and he's just reparroting the same dogmatic thoughts. So that's another thing that we got to get out of. You got to get out here and you got to research yourself. In line with what D-Red is saying, it got to start with self too. You just can't go parroting the same stuff you hearing people saying. And this has been going on in the community for some years now. Like, it's the same thing over and over again. These brothers don't want to pick up no books outside of the Bible. They don't want to research anything.
Yep.
And just so y'all know, deans don't teach. Okay. Deans hardly ever teach.
Why you say that? I said it. Gary Smith says, "So are you saying that us and the Lithuanian Jews are the same people?"
They carry that hat. Yeah.
Yeah. So we don't have the position that guy had on Facebook, where he basically believes a shared experience or a common experience being common ancestry. I wasn't saying it at all. I was just pointing that out to show flaws in his logic and the way he thinks. Now, there are some Lithuanian Jews that are E1B1A, Some of them E1B1B. I consider them to
Yeah.
be family. You know
Family.
what I'm saying? But not everybody that's in Lithuania that's a Jew is related to us, even though they went through that history, even though they got captured and sold into slave by the Cossacks. You know what I'm saying? Even though that's true that they share a common experience, it doesn't mean they have a common ancestry. That was my whole purpose of making this video, and that's why I was trying to spark this discussion with this brother. But he, do what they always do: tuck their tail and hide.
Yeah, I think I brought this. We had discussed this one time before with the Chaddocks being off, and they being on the slave ships with us, and they paternally they're not related to us, but they was on the transatlantic slave trade. They was a part of it. So most people don't get it. They still don't get it.
Yeah, that's why I was telling Ivry last night. Let's do a video on all African Americans are not the same, so they can see it. Those points need to be driven home. But some people will say, "Oh, that you're trying to you're trying to disband us. You're against unity when you teach stuff like that." And my response to them, Sean, is, when have we been unified? What are you talking about? All the African Americans is a hodgepodge of ideas and beliefs, and it's no real unity, man. That's some Facebook shit. And then y'all talking about, oh, we Pan-African. No, you're not. You don't give a fuck about Moroccans, Algerians. You don't care about Tunisians. I'll never hear y'all talk about we need to get together with the Algerians. Them Africans too, ain't they? Last time I checked, they were the Africans. So where is the Pan-African?
They Arabs, and we don't need to. I'm saying they're not related to us.
80% of North Africa is EM78. That's E1B1B. That's our direct brother.
But a lot of them are they don't know that. They don't know this information,
Exactly. That's why I think we should do more lives, targeting those subjects about Africa, the genome of Africa and stuff of that nature.
Exactly.
Yeah. Thank you. Padat Patrol says Pan-African means Pan-Sub-Saharan African.
Exactly. That's what they thinking.
Yeah, because they're not even considering Eastern or Northern Africa. It's just, Sub-Saharan Africa. And not even all of that, because a lot of them dudes is against like the Fulani and shit, and they Sub-Saharan Africa. So I can't even say that.
Right.
I'm like, these brothers is confused, man. We need to have a panel with them brothers, and we need to have them define what they mean by Pan-African. You know what I'm saying? Give me a strict definition of what you are talking about, so we can, know how to proceed and go forward with you. Because I'm confused. I don't know what the hell you talking about. You know what I'm saying? Hey, shalom to my brother Padat Patrol.
Shalom, bro.
All right, man. Anybody have any he says exactly, even in Sub-Saharan Africa, there's so much division and hatred. But anybody have any closing statements before we get out of here?
Did anybody touch on this thing with Teo about the meeting or anything?
Yeah, you can. I still don't trust them, bro. I come out publicly and say that, but you can tell them how you feel about that situation and what happened.
Yeah, just want everybody to know that we did have a discussion with them. I mean, I should have said this at the beginning, but I wasn't here for the whole live. How things went down. Those brothers, they felt that we attacked them, and it was nothing of the sort. But it was just about correction. We did speak behind the scenes. Myself, Shari, Bree, Sister E was there, and the twins. And we did come to a happy medium. Them brothers stay dealing with prophecy, you know what I'm saying, and doing what they do, and they'll stay out of this, stay out of the woods over here with the DNA, because they're not learned enough to stay, to make the statements that they're making. So, I just want to make sure everybody understood that we pretty much put that behind us. but the thought and the information they put out there about autosomal and not using haplogroups, and we're still going to address those things, but we're going to address them respectfully. You know, it's not an attack on them. So if they hear us talking about it going forward, it's not an attack on them. It's just discussions that have to be had. Thank you.
Exactly. I got a question here from I'm just gonna call you Nar. Nar says, so if your maternal grandfather and paternal, he meant father, are E, but your paternal father, or your paternal grandfather are E, but your paternal father is a different marker, haplogroup, where do you fall? Well, that would mean that your paternal grandfather isn't really your paternal grandfather.
Exactly.
Because his son would have the same Y chromosome as him. So that's my best explanation for that. Pedant Patrol says the truth you're bringing out is actually revolutionary. This is a paradigm shift most are not ready for. The fact that not all Israel will be black is a big black pill to swallow for many. Exactly, bro. Exactly. Because that's why I was saying in the other live. A lot of people have pretty much used the word Israel as you use the word black the same way. So they look at it, oh, well, when you say Israel, they equate it to being black. It's not the same thing. Israel is not a skin color. Israel is a lineage. You understand? So yeah. All right, brothers. If y'all don't have any more questions, and if nobody on the panel, sorry, you don't have anything to say, any closing remarks, we'll dip on out of here. And later on, I'm going to do a live on the all Africans are not the same. I think that needs to be touched on today. So I will be going live later on.
Also, we're probably going to have to touch going forward because this keeps coming up in the Rumble Room where brothers are, taking different haplogroups and, prettily broad stroking them all as Israel, saying they're paternally or genetically related to paternal Jacob. It's not true. So we're probably gonna have to touch on it, how they're hodgepodging everybody together, and really drive that home because brothers are still doing that on the Rumble.
All right, we're gonna close out, man. Shalom.
All right, shalom.
Another Mike Diesel production.
Knocking those rhymes, showing toss of rhyme. Knocking those rhymes, showing toss of rhyme. Knocking those rhymes, showing toss of rhyme. I'ma come through and show my wit rhyme. Knocking those rhymes, showing toss of rhyme. Knocking those rhymes, showing toss of rhyme. Knocking those rhymes, showing toss of rhyme. I'ma come through and show my wit rhyme. Knocking those rhymes. I'ma come through and show my wit mind. Knocking those rhymes. rhyme. I'ma come through and show my wit line. Knocking those lines, showing thoughts of rhyme. Knocking those lines, showing thoughts of rhyme. Knocking those lines, showing thoughts of rhyme. I'ma come through and show my wit line. Knocking those lines. I'ma come through and show my wit line. Knocking those lines, showing thoughts of rhyme. Knocking those lines, showing thoughts of rhyme. Knocking those lines, showing thoughts of rhyme. I'ma come through and show my wit line. Knocking those lines.
Hey, it's 7 Candlesticks Up, and I've been telling you niggas, it ain't a debate. It's a stick up. Gang.